The gym was never just about weights and treadmills for Claire Matthews. It was her escape, her sanctuary, the place she went to silence the noise in her mind after long days working as a paralegal at a busy law firm in Chicago. She had joined years ago with the intention of simply getting stronger, but it had turned into part of her identity. She liked the smell of chalk and metal, the hum of machines, the rhythm of sneakers hitting treadmills. More than anything, she liked the sense of routine. It was one of the few constants in her life. Claire was usually focused, earbuds in, playlist blasting, never giving much attention to the people around her. But all of that shifted one Tuesday evening when she noticed someone new in the weight section. He wasn't flexing in the mirror or trying to draw attention like so many others did. He was quiet, methodical. His movements precise as though every rep had meaning. His name, she later learned, was Daniel Carter, a former college baseball player turned personal trainer. At first, Claire didn't think much of him. Trainers came and went, many trying to upsell her on programs she didn't need. But Daniel was different. He wasn't pushy. He didn't hover. He had a calm presence, the kind that made even the most intimidating workout feel approachable. When he caught her struggling with her form on deadlifts one evening, he didn't make a big show of it. He simply offered a quiet suggestion, adjusted her stance slightly, and smiled in that easy way that left her feeling seen rather than judged. The small interactions turned into short conversations. She'd finish her set and he'd ask about her day, or she'd catch him joking with one of his clients and find herself laughing along. Before long, their schedules seemed to align more often, both of them staying later than usual, both lingering in the space between sets as though waiting for the other to say something more. One night, after a particularly stressful day at work, Claire arrived at the gym with her mind spinning. She wasn't in the mood to talk, but Daniel noticed immediately. He walked over as she was about to start on the bench press, placed a reassuring hand on the bar and said, "Rough day." She nodded, trying to brush it off, but something in his tone broke through her walls. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to vent, not about every detail, but about the weight of responsibility she carried. He listened without interruption, offering nothing but presence. That was the moment she realized she looked forward to seeing him, not just for the workouts, but for the way he made the gym feel less like an obligation and more like a connection. Soon, Daniel offered to train her formally. "Not a program, not sales," he assured her. "Just guidance. You've got potential, and I'd like to help you tap into it." She agreed, and what started as casual advice became structured sessions twice a week. He taught her about balance, about recovery, about pushing limits without pushing too far. Their conversations stretched beyond sets and reps. Music, family, books, the little quirks that made them who they were. But with the closeness came the spark of something deeper. Claire tried to ignore it at first. She reminded herself that this was a gym, not a place for romance, and that Daniel was a trainer who probably worked with dozens of clients like her. Yet, every time he encouraged her with that steady voice, every time he celebrated a personal record with genuine excitement, every time his hand brushed hers when passing her a weight, she felt something stronger. It all came to a head one Friday night. The gym was nearly empty, the air quiet except for the low hum of machines. Claire had stayed late to finish her workout, and Daniel lingered after his last client. She was finishing her last set of squats when she felt her legs give out slightly. He was there instantly, steadying her before she could stumble. The closeness caught her off guard. His hand on her arm, his steady grip, the look in his eyes. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The silence carried weight, heavier than any barbell. Claire's heart raced, and she found herself caught between fear and desire. She pulled back first, breaking the spell, but the air between them had changed. That night, she lay awake replaying it all. She thought about the boundaries, about how complicated it could get if she let herself feel what she was feeling. But she also thought about the loneliness she carried, the way he made her laugh, the way he made her feel like more than just another face in the crowd. The next session, Daniel was quieter than usual. He seemed careful, deliberate, as though trying not to cross a line. Finally, after finishing her last set, he said softly, "Claire, I don't want to make things uncomfortable. If I've crossed a line." She stopped him with a shake of her head. "You didn't. I don't know what this is." Daniel hesitated, searching for the right words. "Neither do I. But I know I look forward to seeing you here. More than I should, maybe." Her chest tightened at his honesty. In that moment, the unspoken truth was clear. They were both caught in something that had started as training and had grown into passion. What followed wasn't a whirlwind romance but a quiet, steady unfolding. They didn't rush. They still worked out, still laughed between sets, still kept things professional in the gym. But outside, they allowed themselves to explore what their connection meant. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long walks by the lake. Each moment deepened what they had started without either of them realizing it. Of course, it wasn't without challenges. There were questions of boundaries, of how others might perceive their closeness, of balancing professionalism with personal feelings. But both of them chose honesty. They chose to communicate, to be clear about intentions, to respect each other's pace. Months passed, and the gym became more than just a place of sweat and repetition. It became the backdrop of their story. Friends teased them about how cliché it was, meeting in a gym, but neither cared. For them, it wasn't about the setting. It was about the spark that grew in the most ordinary of places, in between reps and sets, in the rhythm of a shared routine. Claire often thought back to that first evening she noticed him, quiet and steady in the corner of the weight section. She never would have guessed that training would turn into something so much deeper. What began as guidance had become a passion, not just for fitness but for each other. And as she stood beside Daniel one evening, watching the city lights flicker beyond the gym windows after they closed out yet another session together, she realized that sometimes the strongest connections aren't the ones we seek. They're the ones we stumble into when we're simply trying to lift the weight of the day.